Recently, I released a video that was a product of me sitting down and watching hours of archived footage of NES commercials. It was unique. I had a blast getting a glimpse of how some people learned about video games from a time where I wasn't alive. Now, that video discussed the 10 best NES commercials in my opinion, but for everything that is good, there is obviously a bad. It's just the way that life is. And today, I'm going to explore that duality by covering what is, in my opinion, the 10 worst NES commercials. That being said, this is subjective, and I understand that in your youth, these commercials were probably the highlight of your life. So please take this list with a grain of salt. It's just an opinion. I can't remove any of these memories from you. They'll be there forever. Let's begin. We all know the NES controller because for many of us, it was the first controller we ever held, myself included, at least in my youth. But the beauty of a dynamic industry for an active product is that people will go out of their way to improve upon the baseline experience. That's the whole concept of accessories, be it third party or first party. There were tons of products that expanded on the original NES controller. Acclaim, Camerica, and even some lesser known companies created their own versions of the NES controller, and many of them involved a turbo function. Nintendo themselves had two specific controllers that provided that same function: the NES Advantage and the NES Max. Let's take a look at it.
1 Zulu Niner pre-flight check.
Roger, Tower.
Turbo A.
That's a go.
Turbo B.
Check.
Cycloid control.
A-OK.
Rapid fire.
All right, let's fire it up.
The NES Max, only from Nintendo.
Well, you showed us the product, but you didn't bother showing us how it worked. And honestly, this controller is weird. They decided to yank out the D-pad in favor of this non-self-centering floating circle pad. So if you ever mess with an NES Max, it's tiny. Like, stupid small. Here's mine in comparison to the original NES controller. It's not comfortable, and it's awkward. We'll expand on that when I do the Every Games Ever episode about the NES accessories at some point in the future. Legacy of the Wizard is a Nihon Falcom game, and it originated on the MSX home computer. And if you've ever dabbled in MSX gaming, they have a very distinct look to them. They look like early PC gaming software because it is. But this game is part of a much larger franchise, Dragon Slayer, which I know we've talked about before because Faxanadu is part of that franchise. It's a neat game. We follow the Drasley family, and we guide them on their journey to destroy a powerful ancient dragon named Keela. But how is it advertised?
If you are a Nintendo wizard, if you are ready for the ultimate Nintendo challenge, then meet the challenge of the legacy of the wizard. The most challenging adventure of all time. Choose a character, choose your weapons, and enter a world of castles, dungeons, treasure, mazes, monsters, and magic. Your desperate mission is to find and defeat the most powerful dragon in history. Legacy of the Wizard, only for your Nintendo Entertainment System.
Ah yes, buzzwords and flashbangs, my two favorite things in a commercial. I swear if you had epilepsy in the 80s, you were just left to your own devices. Nintendo, and realistically any company at the time, didn't believe in accessibility when it came to advertising, so all the while you're trying to focus on what the gameplay is, you're getting flashbanged by screen transitions. That's a huge pet peeve of mine. I actually avoid using dip to white transitions in my videos for that exact reason. Nobody wants to be splashed with a bright light when they're watching videos. Nobody. But hey, some folks consider this game a hidden gem, so it might be at least worth checking out the game, but don't watch the commercial. There were two major commercials for Zelda, and they are both as cheesy as a stripper with dollar bills stuck to her butt. The one I do enjoy, though, is the one where a discount Robin Williams, loaded to the brim with the finest assortment of methamphetamines, shouts random things in an abandoned warehouse like, "Tech tights, pea hats." You've seen it. I know you've seen it. But do you remember the other one? Let's enjoy it.
Did you see the latest Nintendo newsletter?
Whoa, nice graphics. I'd like to get my hands on that game.
You mean you haven't played it yet? We can play it on my Nintendo Entertainment System. It's the Legend of Zelda, and it's really rad. Those creatures from Ganon are pretty bad. Octorok's Tektites levers too. But with your help, our hero pulls through. Yeah, go Link, yeah, get Zelda. Awesome. Intense.
The Nintendo Entertainment System. Your parents help you hook it up. The Legend of Zelda sold separately.
Oh, hell yeah. I wonder if that kid's rap career ever kicked off. So many modern rappers could learn from those sick bars that Poindexter kicked off on his mom's couch. Look out, Kendrick Lamar! White ice is in town! It's funny, too, because Link's Awakening actually had a decent rap that went with it, and the commercial was great as well. We might see that on a list one day. The Rocketeer is a chore. I actually played a little bit of it when I was looking into the best and worst NES games based on films, and I wasn't really impressed. It's a very subpar game, and that's probably because Ironwind Software scraped the bottom of the barrel to create it. For those of you who don't know, Ironwind only made like 5 games ever, and then they kicked the bucket. The ones that stand out are Heavy Barrel and Captain America and the Avengers. The rest, nah.
Blast off with the Rocketeer against Neville Sinclair, the enemy agent, and his henchmen. This game for your Nintendo Entertainment System provides the kind of action the Rocketeer lives for. Blasting Sinclair's thugs, snipers, booby traps, enemy flyers, and heavy artillery. The battle will lead to many places, from the Bulldog Cafe to a Zeppelin high in the Hollywood skies. So don't wait, propel yourself into high adventure. The video game from Bandai.
Like I mentioned in the previous episode, when covering a game based on a movie, I feel like it's a cheap cop-out to make a majority of the commercial revolve around the film itself. And while I've never seen The Rocketeer, I can deduce that many of the scenes in the commercial are yanked straight from the movie. I don't know if The Rocketeer was a popular film, but if I was in that kid's shoes, I wouldn't have bought it, unless I had an absolute boner for The Rocketeer. The gameplay it shows is minimal at best. Did you ever own this game though? Let me know down below. I'd love to hear. Adventure Island is a series where you run to the right constantly while contending with a man who slathers a fresh coat of Crisco on his feet. Because of this, he has successfully achieved a zero inertia coefficient, so he goes wherever the fuck he wants. I've actually beaten 3 of the games in this franchise, and 2 was a little bit different because we had animal companions, or more so dinosaurs, which helped us get through the game.
Master Higgins is back in Adventure Island 2! This time, he's not alone in his quest to save his beloved. Various prehistoric friends will help Higgins defeat his fiendish foes. Adventure Island 2, the premier action-adventure game. By Hudson Soft.
Now, bearing in mind what I said about him walking, you notice how the commercial never shows him walking in-game. Now you know why. He's a perpetually hungry, slippery, goon-ass of a person that makes the game grossly unfun, at least to me. I will say Super Adventure Island isn't that bad on the Super Nintendo, but the first 2 games on the NES, rough. Rougher than an emery board on your taint. Jackie Chan's Action Kung Fu is a game based around Jackie Chan. We all know him, right? Actor, producer, director, insane stuntman. He's a good dude, always has been. Hasn't been to Epstein Island, so he's got something going for him. Now, this game is kind of funky. It's an action platformer, which Hudson was pretty dead set on making at the time, and we have to go through 5 levels trying to find our sister, either Yulan or Julie. Those are his real sisters, so I'm assuming it's one of them. Let's check out the commercial.
It's awesome action. Jackie Chan's Action Kung Fu. A video game that'll blow you away. Fight your way through 5 fantastic levels. Using killer flips and kick spins. The action's so hot, it'll make your fingers burn. Look for it today, Jackie Chan's Action Kung Fu by Hudson Soft.
Not good, but not bad, kind of in the middle. I'd venture to say that that's 100% not Jackie Chan in this footage, which is kind of strange to me, because if you're going to endorse a game with his name, you would think the US audience would want to see him. He wasn't some unknown guy in the 1990s. He was as popular as Jet Li, Michelle Yeoh, Donnie Yen, Bruce Lee, and his son Brandon. So yeah, kind of felt like they screwed the pooch on this one. Kalal is a game I've mentioned on the channel before. It's a shooter, kind of a static shooter, where we play as a guy wearing a leotard with a hole in his butt, riding what appears to be roller skates, shooting at things at the top of the screen before going full PCP gorilla and going ooga booga into the sunset. It was a popular game during its time. It saw many releases on the PC market, but the only home iteration at the time for consoles was the NES version, so there were shoes to fill. Did they fill them?
Cabal, the fiercest terror force of all. Think you can wipe out the world's toughest terrorists? Fools! They've got subs, choppers, jet fighters. Go it alone or get help. But if you fail, you'll end up like me. Cabal, for your Nintendo.
For me, no. The game itself is fun, don't get me wrong, it's genuinely a fun game. I had fun checking it out for the 10 NES Sprite Flicker game episode, but it's still rather challenging. But the commercial just didn't do it for me. Mega Man 1, not very popular, at least in the initial sales. Mega Man 2, fantastic game, one of my favorites on the NES. Mega Man 3, it was good as well. Well, not to me, but my opinion is fractional. Other people loved Mega Man so much that to this day, it still thrives as one of Capcom's IPs, albeit not as popular as, say, Street Fighter or Resident Evil. In fact, where Nintendo had tons of Mario games, Capcom had tons of Mega Man games. But if you watched this commercial, you'd be visibly confused. So yeah, that's it. That's the commercial for Mega Man 3. I don't even know how to describe it. There's a fine balance, to me at least, what we should and shouldn't tell the consumer about a game. If I were to make a commercial about an NES game, especially in the era where it was going to be released, I'd provide gameplay footage, right? Gameplay footage. Refer back to the previous entries, maybe name drop Capcom and their successes in a minor way, but this commercial is just confusing as shit to me. A businessman carrying a copy of Mega Man 3 in a briefcase while people sneak up on him? Unfortunately, that's all I can perceive from this one because it is kind of blurry, but hey, it's out. Ever watch Total Recall? It's an Arnie movie from 1990, and it has tons of great actors in it. Ronald Shusett, Gary Goldman, Dan O'Bannon, Sharon Stone, there's tons of people in it. The movie itself covers the story of Douglas Quaid, who has this memory that's been implanted in him, but he uncovers a shadow organization on Mars or something. It's been a while since I've seen it. But in true to form NES era licensed movie jank, this game received a home console release on the NES. I've played it for about 10 minutes, so I don't really claim to have played it, but it's, how can I say this without sounding too abrasive? It fucking sucks.
They stole your mind. Get it back with Total Recall for Nintendo, based on the blockbuster movie. Total Recall from Acclaim, the action game you'll never forget.
Well, that was a lie. I forgot about it the instant I put down my controller. It's a horrible game. Want to know why? The motion of the ocean. That's right, this game was made by what I consider to be the British LJN because they swooped up film rights like nobody's business to make horrible games. And even if it wasn't film related, it still sucked. Imagine for a moment that Trivial Pursuit and Pictionary had a baby. And somewhere in the chaos of the neonatal ward, that baby was swapped for another baby. It looked the same, it sounded the same, even played the same, but something wasn't right. That's anticipation. Now I've played it, beaten it, it's stupid easy, you just have to figure out rudimentary drawings that tie to a theme, right? And after, I want to say, 3 levels, it's over. As a party game, it's pretty decent. For a single game night, though.
Word. What is the word? To the moon, Ellie! Man on the moon! Everybody trying to guess the word. I said a word, word, word. What is the word? A word, word, word. Taping! It's a taping! Nintendo introduces anticipation. It brings the board game into the video age. You gotta have fun, play along. Word, word, word. Guess the word. Anticipation. Now you're playing with power. Word power.
This one is all over the place. Quick cuts, an absurd cover of the Trashmen's Surfin' Bird, and grown adults playing a party game on the NES when out of nowhere, excuse me, Jimmy, what did I tell you about coming out of your room during AA meeting night? I knew it was a dumbbell. Now I look stupid in front of my friends. Also, for whatever reason, they decided to manipulate the trademark for "now you're playing with power" and turn it into "now you're playing with word power," like it was some kind of poppin' zinger that would stick. Guess what? It didn't. And that's it for today's list. What did you think of it? Are there any commercials for the NES era that made you kind of scratch your head, or even possibly make you change the channel? Feel free to tell us down below. I know the community would love to hear about it, and I know I would as well. Speaking of our community, if you made it to the end of this video, you're already home here. So feel free to hit that subscribe button as we begin our steady ascent to 8,000 subscribers. Finally, the single most important thing you can do for me is to hit that thumbs up button, as it directly impacts the visibility of the videos and the projects that I work on every single day. As always, from my family to your family, good energy, good vibes. Fortefyre out.